I'm Cecil Dillon, and Annette and I grew up together in Lodi. So that goes back to the beginning pretty much. And went to high school together and sort of lost touch after high school, but then we both ended up coming back to Lodi, and then she married Jimmy, and I met Jim through Annette. I did the engineering on the Pietro's restaurant, so that goes 20-some years. Of course, Annette and I were involved with a lot of community efforts. She's probably the most involved person I've ever met, and when she tackles a project, it gets done. And I think that's why she gets so many, because everyone knows if you need something done and it's a good cause, if you can get Annette, it's going to be a success. So between friendship and then of course I see her, she's my favorite bartender. I go to Pietro's regularly for lunch, and my wife and I go regularly in the evenings, and I always like to come in on Saturday and go behind the bar and give the bartender a big kiss, because that's Annette. You know, she and her brother Dave took over the waste company here in town, and from her father and Dave's father, and they turned it into, you know, state-of-the-art recycling when recycling wasn't really known and popular. And again, those two put together just a top-line waste management company, and then they eventually sold it to Waste Management, the international company. But they really, there again, as a business person, she just stands out no matter what she does. Well, first of all, she's brilliant, and she just is relentless. She will not give up. And hard worker. If it takes 24 hours a day, she'll give it, you know, the 24 hours a day. And when she takes on a project or anything she does, if she wants to get it accomplished, she just won't stop until it is. And not that it's easy or it just comes easy, she just won't not accomplish what she's trying to do. And then she's very, very good at getting people to help. You know, she can, like I say, if I'm doing something, if I can get her involved, boy, all of a sudden we have an army, because she can pick up the phone and people just don't say no. Couldn't have a better mother. You know, she's there if you need her, and she's there even if you don't need her. And she'll give you her honest opinion, and I think both her children have always respected that. Now, seeing them as they grew up, you know, their children don't always appreciate things, but now as they're getting to be young adults, I can see it all fit. She did a beautiful job, and they love her. My daughter, when she was younger, Annette enlisted her to roll the dough and cut the ravioli, you know, squares, and then they all made them. And so yeah, that was part of the growing up period, is you know, her raviolis. And now now they're on the menu, you know, Nettie's raviolis, and you know, I can honestly say I was eating those long before they were ever out for public consumption, but they're just as good. And yeah, that's always an event. It's just a bunch of nice people, and they work their tails off, but you'd never know it. You know, they're just having fun. And there again, Annette can make you have fun and do all her work for her. She's just been a pleasure to know, and I look forward to the next thing I can do with her. So that's all I can tell you. And I love to be with her family. So it's a total package.
My name's Suzanne Gum, and I'm the executive director at Lodi House. And I've known Annette for the 14 years that I've been at Lodi House, but I knew her kind of through a friend of mine. We had a mutual friend, so I've known her a lot longer than that on the peripheral, but I've been working closely with her for the last 14 years. One of the greatest things about her is the fact that she's so generous. It's kind of amazing, so it would be surprising too. It's kind of amazing how she sees a need, and then just, especially if it has to do with women and children, and wants to jump up and fill the need, she'll go beyond to fill it and to help you accomplish your goals with it. God's had his hand in her life from the day she started out as a single mom, and that's where she got this burden in her heart to do this for women and children, a shelter, and the same with the Salvation Army. And so she will say that everything she's done and accomplished in her life is because she's done it for God. She doesn't do it for man. She doesn't do it for accolades. This kind of stuff, she certainly doesn't do it for this. It kind of makes her nervous when people recognize her. She wants you to recognize that it's all because of God, and he's been in charge of her life, and he leads her, and she gives him all credit, all honor and glory and credit. And it's amazing, and it shocks a lot of people. Because to me, one of the biggest things that she has is she's not afraid to ask for money. I mean, one day she brought a businessman to Lodi House, gave him a tour, and we were standing out in the driveway talking about what he thought of the house and, of Lodi House and our program. And she goes, "So are you giving us $20,000, or how much are you giving us?" I was like, whoa, I was completely shocked. And he ended up giving us a large chunk of money. So she is not afraid to ask. And she said, if you believe in what you're doing and what you're asking for, then other people will believe it too. And it's a wonderful thing to be called a friend of hers, because if you are, she's got your back. I've seen Annette mad. She can, she's got the Italian spunk in her. When she gets mad, it comes out. She's seen me that way a few times, and she keeps asking me, you have to be Italian. She's got a wonderful husband. Jim backs her all the way with all her projects and everything she does. She's got a huge support, so they do things together. And her kids are a main source of joy in her life, and her granddaughter. So, yeah, she's a great lady.
My name is Father Brandon Ware. I'm the pastor of St. Anne's here in Lodi, and I met Annette 7 years ago. When I first came to the parish, that was my first assignment. He's here in Lodi at St. Anne's. But I really started, so I knew her, kind of as an acquaintance in town. It's hard not to know Annette when you come to Lodi. But I really started to get to know her really in the past 2 to 3 years. She's been serving as our pastoral council chair. And so we worked really closely on the pastoral council, helping to provide vision for the parish community. And now we're in the middle of a huge project where we're trying to close the street between the parish and the school. And Annette is really, making that happen. She's right there with me with all the different fundraisers that we're doing and the asks that we make. And I think it's really going to happen because she is such a gifted person in relationship. There's no way I don't think this plaza would be taking place if it was just up to me and my ability to relate with others. It's really, it's Annette. She has a gift for relationship, and so I think it's coming into fruition because of that gift that she shares so generously, the gift of relationship. I would say the number one thing that I've learned from working with Annette is how to be a priest, because I see in her someone who sacrifices of herself in love for the community and love for people. She's just constantly giving of herself. And she's always been super involved in the Lodi community, and now she's so involved at St. Anne's, working with so many different projects. And I can just go to her at any time, and she makes things happen. And I see, I think it's like she almost drives herself to the point of exhaustion. She just gives and gives. And I imagine, I know that ability to give of herself so generously comes from her relationship with Christ. So she's just fueled with the fire and love of God, which allows her to give of herself. And I think that's what being a priest really is all about too. And so she's teaching me how to be a priest, staying rooted in Jesus, and then allowing that relationship of love with our Lord to just overflow in service to our brothers and sisters. And so that's something that she does exceptionally well, that I hope to be able to do as a priest one day, as well as she currently does. She has a great laugh. You can hear Annette laughing from a distance, and it's joy-filled. When she laughs, it's filled with the Spirit and draws others into that joy. So again, I think that's connecting to her faith life. There's a certain joy that one has when you're related in relationship with God, And that comes out in her laugh very clearly. It's infectious, and it's probably why people want to be around her, because that joy is so, on the surface, and it draws others not only to her, but they sense there's more they're being drawn into. They're being drawn into something, of the divine with her laugh.
I'm Dave Warner. I'm a San Joaquin County Superior Court judge. I got to know Annette when I was an attorney in Lodi practicing law. Met her and her brother through their business, Cal Waste, and her dad and Dave's dad. And I don't really know how long I've known them or her. I would say probably 30, 40 years. Probably not 40 years, because I don't think she's that old, but a long time. And got to know them basically through work, and then became friends as time went along. She knew what was going on. She was well versed in what was happening. She was always good to work with, very detail oriented. I like that. And actually, she and her brother were a great contrast in their approaches and how they ran the business. And I think the two of them together actually built it into what it became.
They were quite a contrast in brother and sister. And I really, no question, Dave was kind of the front runner, but I always thought, if you didn't have your sister back here making sure the boat didn't sink, it wouldn't be running as smoothly as it is. So Dave and Annette, on that personality thing, ever seen them get mad? They're like this. Dave could blow up and go crazy, and when he was done, he was done. But Annette was never like that. You'd never see her get excited. But I think Dave realized that, like those things I'm talking about, while it may have really irritated him when he was trying to pull a project together, that sister's back here kind of watching all of things, I think he appreciated that she did that, and he realized that without that he could run into problems. So although he whined about it at the time, I heard him a couple times with people that I consider to be very top-notch professionals. I heard him say, not in her presence, that she's every bit as good as that person is, which I thought was quite complimentary.
She's very generous with her money. When I say that she's tight, I saw the way she operated a business in a way that you need to do if you're going to keep the business afloat and keep it successful. But people shouldn't read into that she is tight. I think she's actually very generous. But I've seen both sides of her, and when it was running a business and keeping control of it, she did. But when it comes to being generous with her own money and her own time and her own efforts, she's as giving as they get. She and a number of ladies were out to lunch at Biba's in Sacramento, and Annette was picking up the tab for the lunch and walked out the door with the entire tab, meaning what her receipt was and the part that the restaurant was supposed to keep. And so when they left the restaurant, apparently one of the people in the restaurant came kind of running after them, and they thought the person was just waving goodbye, so they waved and off they went, and then got home, and Annette found the entire package there together and called the restaurant back. Annette's been involved in a number of things in Lodi. Probably the biggest two that come to mind are Lodi House, and then she was also very instrumental in Hope Harbor with Salvation Army. But there's been a lot of other projects that she's been involved with, and it's not uncommon that she'll call up and say, we're going to go over, and it could be anything from put a food basket together, or I should say food baskets, plural, together, and then she'll get a bunch of people together, and my wife and I will go join them to do that. So she has projects going on all the time. I was at a birthday party for her one time and saw her tap dance. I'm not sure many people would know that she can tap dance. Perhaps they can, I guess you have to have the right shoes to do that, but anyway, she's a tap dancer, among many other things. She's a very giving person. In fact, she's probably one of the most, what I would call, giving people that I know. The thing that impresses me most, beyond all those projects, is she's a Christian, and it's not just a label she carries around. She is a Christian. She has Christ's light shining through her like nobody else I can think of offhand, and I think that's what causes her to do all the work that she does, and it's special. And I think when she does work, it's not about her and the accolades she'll get from doing it, but it's about helping other people in a variety of circumstances where they're not otherwise being helped.
My name is Captain Dan Williams of the Salvation Army, Alameda County Coordinator. Annette and I met when I first got here about 7.5 years ago to Lodi to become the Corps Officer for the Salvation Army. Annette was on our advisory board and a big part of our capital campaign before I got here to build our new shelter. Annette definitely has a way of seeing a need in a community and going forth and finding ways to fulfill that need. She came to the Salvation Army a few years before I got here and asked them to build a women's shelter. The Army was not, at that time, the Salvation Army was not ready to do that and had told her they couldn't. So she went out and raised the money and she opened Lodi House for women. And a few years later, they realized that that was more of a transitional and they needed something more of an emergency. And she went back to the Salvation Army, and at that time they were ready to move to a new location and build a new shelter. And this shelter was going to be built for men, women, and women with children. And so she got very involved in making sure that that shelter got built, and that it got built in a way that would house all three. Annette has been an inspiration to me and to my wife and to our family. Anytime that Annette knew there was a need out there, the first thing that Annette did, and the one thing that really impressed me the most, was she wouldn't just go and ask somebody for something, she would go to prayer. And she would go to church and she would pray over it. I remember a time we needed a forklift, and we mentioned that at a board meeting that we were needing a forklift for our warehouse, and she knew somebody who owned a forklift company, but she said, I'm going to go pray about it. And she went and she prayed for 30 days, every day, before she went and approached this person. And when she approached them, she had them come out, Watts Equipment, and come out to our facility and take a tour. She prayed so hard that we not only got one, he donated a brand new forklift to us, with a scale on it, and a used one for our other warehouse. That is something about Annette that just impressed me so much, is that before she does anything, she takes it to God in prayer. William Booth, the founder of the Salvation Army, was asked one time if he could sum up what he did and why he did what he did in one word, what would it be? And his word was others. And I believe that's Annette. I think Annette is the next William Booth. She is the next person that just, it's about other people. It's not about her, it's not about anything else, but it's about the people who are in need. And if she sees a need, she wants to fulfill it. She wants to go out and she wants to find a way to help them to have a better life, have a second chance at life. You know, she wants to see lives changed. And it's awesome to see in her, because she doesn't do it for the glory. She does it because she cares. She truly cares. She has a compassion for people and a love for people, and it shows in everything that she does. She jokes around every once in a while because she says that when her friends see her coming, they run the other way because she's always asking for something. But I really think they run to her because they know that the causes that she backs, the things that she does, it's because it's from her heart. And they know that, and it's a way for them to also be a part of what she's doing in this community in Lodi for the people of Lodi.
Hi, I'm Jim Murdaca, and I'm Annette Murdaca's husband of 27 years. I met Annette when I first moved to Lodi in 1985, 86, and her family owned the garbage company in Lodi, and she sold me trash. So that's how we met, and 28 years ago. We started dating when we were invited to the same wedding, and we went to the wedding, and about a year later we were married. Annette, what do I want people to know about her? She's very spiritual, and when she sets her mind to something, it pretty much happens. And she's a bulldog. And she does a lot of good things. What is it like having Annette as a partner? Well, whenever we go someplace, it takes us forever to get in and out. That's first of all. And it's very good. I have to say, it's well-grounded. Everything's done for the right reason. And she's a great partner. She listens, and she's not afraid to give her opinion, which is good. I don't always listen the first time, but it comes through eventually. she quit work, and when she retired from when their family sold the garbage company, she came home one day and I said, what are you going to do? You know, I'm not working. She wasn't working anymore, and she says, I think I'm going to start a Lodi house, a house for women to go, a transition house. I said, okay. And, you know, I kind of, all right, go ahead, you know, and she put a plan together and bought a house and raised the money and put the program, and Susan Mango became very big in part of that and runs it day to day. And she has a heart for women and children. It was an undertaking, let me tell you. It was a very big undertaking. I mean, to find the house, to find the people, you know, and they're doing very well now. The kids and us, we're very proud of her.